A ferry collides with a boat in Hong Kong, killing dozens of people. Now investigators try to determine what caused the crash in Asia's tightly regulated waters.
Early returns are in for Georgia's parliamentary elections. Both sides say they won. We'll take a look at the numbers.
And sharp words from the Syrian foreign minister. He accuses the UN of supporting terrorism. We'll hear what he had to say. All these stories and more next on Ebru Today. Welcome to Ebru Today. I'm Mia Toski. We bring the world to your world. It's great to have all of our viewers from around the world on this Tuesday, October the 2nd.
It sure is, and I'm Francesca Maxime in for Brian Jenkins.
We're going to start the news off today with a deadly boat crash in Hong Kong that left 37 people dead and dozens more injured.
Hong Kong authorities announced an investigation on Tuesday into the collision of two passenger boats that killed almost 40 people. Ebru Today's Erin Aid has more on that story. Erin?
That's right, Mia and Francesca. It's a sad scene, and the boat was packed with people on a long holiday weekend. It collided with a ferry and sank on Monday night, killing at least 37 people and injuring dozens of others.
It is Hong Kong's deadliest ferry accident in recent memory, on a night meant for celebration that took a drastic turn. The crash happened as Hong Kong's busy waters were even more crowded than usual as the city celebrated China's National Day. The collision occurred off Yama's coast around 8:20 p.m. when a Hong Kong to Kowloon ferry collided with a smaller boat carrying utility company workers and their families to famed Victoria Harbor to watch a fireworks display. More than 100 people plunged into the water. 37 bodies had been recovered as of Tuesday morning. The search was made difficult by low visibility and obstacles on the boat. More than 100 people were rescued and sent to hospitals, and 9 had serious or critical injuries. Survivors told local television stations that the power company boat started sinking rapidly after the collision. The ferry did not sink and apparently did not stop to help the doomed smaller vessel.
Details about the victims were not given, though local television outlet RTHK reported some of the dead were children.
That's awful. Do they actually know what caused it, why it happened in the first place?
Well, as of now, they don't. However, authorities have promised a thorough investigation of the incident. And also what's going on, at this point, no authorities have arrested 6 crew members. And Hong Kong Police Commissioner said on Tuesday that the crew members from both boats were detained and that they are suspected of endangering passengers and operating the craft unsafely. So it's still developing. We'll know more as time goes on today.
And we know just how busy of a waterway that is.
Absolutely, yes. Victoria Harbor, very busy.
Thanks
All right,
so
we'll
much,
be watching
Erin.
those details. Thanks so much.
No problem.
All right, we're going to move things over to Georgia now, where it's still unclear who won the election there. Both sides are claiming victory in an election that is critical to determining the future of the former Soviet Republic. Ebru Today's Sherry Richardson is live in our New York City bureau with the latest. And Sherry, this has been an expensive race on both sides.
Indeed it has, Mia. The government party was in a heated race against an opposition coalition led by Bidzina Ivanishvili, a billionaire businessman who has posed the most serious challenge to the pro-Western president who came to power almost 9 years ago.
Opposition supporters filled the center of the Georgian capital after their party leaders claimed a disputed victory in the country's parliamentary elections. No official results were released, but 2 exit polls gave the edge to the opposition, but they were done 4 hours before the voting stations closed and registered only the vote based on party lists, which is used to elect 77 of Parliament's 150 members. The remaining 73 members are directly elected by majority vote in their constituencies, where the president's United National Movement is considered to have a strong advantage. President Saakashvili, speaking on television shortly after the polls closed, conceded that the opposition coalition Georgian Dream had indeed won the party vote, largely on the strength of its support in the capital, but his own party was far ahead in the direct elections and would retain its majority in parliament. The opposition coalition, however, released a statement saying that its own exit polls showed it would win the party vote by 63%. Congratulating his supporters, opposition leader Ivanishvili said, "It is the first time Georgian people made it happen to change government through the elections. This is a big event in Georgian history, and it will be written into history with gold letters. Under Saakashvili, the former Soviet republic has aligned itself with the U.S. while striving to join the European Union and NATO. Ivanishvili, who made his money in Russia, has said he would pursue these strategic goals while also seeking to restore the ties with Moscow that were severed when the two neighboring countries fought a brief war in 2008. Saakashvili has accused Ivanishvili of serving Kremlin interests and intending to put Georgia back under Russian domination, which the opposition leader has denied.
Yesterday's election sets in motion a change in the political system that will reduce the powers of the presidency. The party that wins the majority in parliament will have the right to choose the new prime minister, who will gain many of the president's powers. Reporting live from New York City, I'm Sherry Richardson. Mia?
Well, Sherry, Ivanishvili has been the toughest opponent yet for the president. If the president loses, what are his plans?
Well, Saakashvili has said that when his second and last term ends next year, he has no intention of running for prime minister. Mia?
All right, we'll be watching. Thanks so much, Sherry.
Well, the president and his Republican challenger Mitt Romney, they are getting ready to fight it out in a big debate that some say could decide it all. Their first debate on October 3rd. It's the first time America and the whole world will get to see the two men square off. Ebru's Kyle Schmoyer explores what the two are preparing for the big night.
Over the course of October, the three presidential debates are like 3 rounds of a heavyweight fight, with the ultimate prize coming Election Day in November. It's an opportunity for voters to see the two candidates one-on-one.
It's one of the few times voters see what the candidates have to say without filtering. That is, they can watch the actual debate and not have any of it filtered by media. They can listen for themselves.
President Obama and Mitt Romney know the stakes are high, especially for this first debate. They've been preparing for weeks, having closed-door practice sessions. They want to be ready for any and all questions and score some points of their own.
Do I think that Barack Obama has won this? I think that right now the odds slightly favor him. I wouldn't bet my house on an Obama victory, but I do think he has enough of a lead and enough credible polls to suggest that the hill is a lot steeper for Mitt Romney to climb.
While many Americans already know Obama from the past 4 years, many political experts say Romney needs to use the debates to help himself.
If he's able to sort of put the president down or show the president that, you know, I know about business, you don't, therefore we have a bad economy, and if it's memorable, if it's sticky, that might move the needle a bit because it'll become part of the media narrative.
And both men will try to reach independents and undecided voters by winning each debate.
It's important for Obama to be solid. It's important for Romney to do really, really well, partly because Romney has to change the narrative.
The first face-off is 9 o'clock, Wednesday, October 3rd. For Ebru News, I'm Kyle Schmoyer.
All right, we'll be watching. Thank you, Kyle. And turning to Syria now, where the foreign minister lashes out at the United Nations. The verbal attack came on Monday during the UN's annual gathering of world leaders. Walid al-Moallem said the Security Council is supporting terrorism by backing the opposition to Bashar al-Assad's regime. Our Washington-based correspondent Robin Hamilton has more. Robin?
Mia, well, in this attack, al-Moallem suggested that countries like the United States were largely to blame for the crisis in his country. And his speech, which some reports say was laced with conspiracy theories, says that, there's already a domestic process in place in Syria and that outside forces that are getting involved are doing more harm than good in their domestic affairs.
Syria's Foreign Minister Walid al-Moallem made a scathing attack against the United Nations Security Council during the UN's annual meeting of world leaders. The country, embroiled in months of bloody violence as citizens revolt against President Bashar al-Assad's regime, continues to face pressure from the international community for a leadership change. Al-Moallem demanded it's time that other countries step out of their domestic affairs.
The Syrian people and only the Syrian people are authorized to choose their own future and the form of their state, which accommodates all groups and throughout the entire spectrum of the Syrian people, including those who are deceived and misled.
The United States has been one of the more vocal supporters of the opposition and has actively tried to supply citizens with humanitarian aid. The Foreign Minister, however, suggested that such support was doing nothing more than contributing to terrorism in his country.
I call all countries represented in General Assembly to assert pressure to end the violence in my country through putting an end to the arming, financing, harboring, and training of armed terrorist groups.
Now, the Security Council is still very much divided on a resolution, particularly as Russia and China continue to support al-Assad's regime. Mia?
Well, Robin, what's been the response to this speech?
Well, the U.S.-based spokesman for Syria's opposition group said that the speech was insincere and full of propaganda. He added that al-Muallim's call for a dialogue with citizens was really a lie, particularly as the government continues its Air Force strikes against civilians in cities all over the country. Back to you.
Thanks for that report.
The North Korean vice foreign minister also blasted the UN about the Syrian conflict. He says the unjustifiable interference, pressure, and use of force that violates the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Syria and the right to self-determination and existence of Palestine should be rejected. That's a quote from Pak Kil-yeon. He also lashed out at the United States, saying that repeated U.S. military exercises near the Korean peninsula is, quote, proof of aggression. Pak Kil-yeon, North Korea's vice foreign minister, made the statement at the UN General Assembly in New York, saying that there's a vicious cycle of confrontation and aggravation of tension in the Korean peninsula, and went on to call the area the world's most dangerous hotspot. Pak also accused the United States of seeking to use force to occupy the entire Korean peninsula and use it as a stepping stone to dominate Asia. He said America had finalized scenarios for a new Korean war and is, quote, waiting for a chance to implement them. Pak cited repeated U.S. military exercises near the peninsula as proof of aggression. The minister says North Korea's patience on the issue is limited. Pak also told the assembly that North Korea would continue to further strengthen and develop the relations of friendship and cooperation with all countries that respect its sovereignty pursuant to its foreign policy ideas of independence, peace, and friendship, and actively join the efforts of the UN member states to secure world peace and stability and achieve sustainable development.
Well, we're going to move things down under to Australia, where a new report has found that the Great Barrier Reef has lost more than half of its corals in the past 27 years. Research by the Australian Institute of Marine Sciences, that's called AIMS, and the University of Wollongong say they have found the causes, so it may be possible to stop further damage. From storms to sea stars, the Great Barrier Reef is now facing rapid coral loss. The world's largest reef is being threatened by climate change and a destructive sea star, according to scientists. And if the trend continues, half the coral cover could be depleted by 2022.
With the same conditions over the next 10 years, we'd see a further reduction by half of the coral cover in the reef.
Storm damage is said to have caused 48% of the loss. A sea star called Crown of Thorns caused 42%, and coral bleaching accounted for 10%. Scientists say warmer water temperatures causes coral bleaching. When water is too warm, corals expel an algae, causing the coral to turn completely white. While scientists continue to study climatic changes, they say focusing on the Crown of Thorns sea star, which feed on coral, may be the best way to prevent further damage.
Fertilizer is the food of Crown of Thorns when it's in its baby stage. We've got to cut that food from that potential explosion of Crown of Thorns every 15 years.
Globally, reefs are being attacked by a number of threats, particularly rising sea temperatures and more powerful storms. But the threat to the Great Barrier Reef is even more pronounced. And another problem for the Great Barrier Reef, port expansion could triple in the next 10 years because of the coal industry. That would mean as many as 10,000 coal ships per year could make their way through the Great Barrier Reef area by 2020. Now for a look at the international papers, Francesca is over at Live Touch with a look at what the foreign press is covering for us today.
That's right. For this Tuesday, October 2nd, we have some great headlines for you from the China Daily. That's where we're going to start. Take a look at this great picture over here at the China Daily. It is all flowers. This is all to celebrate, here we go, You can see that. This is all to celebrate the People's Republic of China's 63rd birthday, known as China's National Day. The flowers in this photo are here as soldiers lay baskets on the monument to the People's Heroes in Tiananmen Square, and that is in Beijing. You can see them there taking those flowers over. And this floral display is the most elaborate ever and includes built-in lighting effects for nighttime display as well. Over 50 species of flowers are all on display, and to stay fresh, they have special irrigation with a needle delivering water right to the roots over here. So quite a picture there, so colorful. All right, and we are heading over to Greece right now. We are going to, nope, that's not it. There, nope, that's not it either. A little sensitive. Here we go. There we go. We're heading over to Greece for this story. Austerity measures continue to dominate the headlines in Greece, with a draft budget seeing 7.8 billion euros in cuts as the European Commission envoy, Matthias Moers, that's the guy over here in this photo, he's seen here arriving Monday at a meeting where he and his colleagues held meetings with Greece's finance minister and prime minister. Now, they are trying to clarify just how a $135 billion austerity package proposed by the coalition government might work. Several sticking points with the so-called troika remain, including the possibility of suspending 15,000 Greek civil servants. And as we told you yesterday, unemployment there in that country is already at 25%. Now we are headed over to Miami, to Florida. And over here, we have the challenger, really, to Hugo Chavez. He's been in power for over a dozen years. In Caracas, Venezuela, opposition candidate Enrique Capriles closed his presidential campaign with a huge rally through the streets of the capital. He left his supporters with high hopes that he could indeed end the 14-year rule of President Hugo Chavez. Now, wearing red, yellow, and blue, which you can see there in the photo. There we go. Yeah. That is Mr. Capriles. The 40-year-old Capriles accused Chavez of leaving behind a string of broken promises, squandering Venezuela's oil wealth, and also neglecting voters. Now we're going to head over to Australia and the Australian, and we're going to go down here to this picture of this old plane. Not really good news over there. In Australia, 6 people are feared lost in a 78-year-old aircraft that disappeared while flying low through storm clouds over a rugged corner of Queensland's Sunshine Coast. The pilot, Des Porter, that's him right there in the picture, he's seen with his 1934 de Havilland DH-84 Dragon. Now, search planes are looking for the aircraft in thick brush. It is believed that the crew ran out of fuel and crashed after performing in an air show. Now, back in 1954, he actually survived a crash involving the same kind of aircraft. So certainly something that he loved to do, but unfortunately does not look like a terrific ending for that flight.
All right, thanks so much for those headlines, Francesca.
Thanks, man.
And coming up next on Ebru Today, a bus tumbles off a cliff in Peru, killing and injuring dozens of people. We'll have the latest on that. And a fireball and thick black smoke looms over a warehouse in Canada after a huge fire broke out there. Firefighters spent the night trying to douse those flames. And thousands of people swarm a museum in Beijing to celebrate National Day holidays. We'll show you all of the fun when we come right back.
You know, it's a beautiful day here.
It sure is here in New York. It's beautiful out here.
And we are now going to look at Matt with the map to see what it looks like overseas with the international outlook. Hey, Matt.
Hey, how are you? Hello, good day, and good day to you. The first we want to mention Nadine. Now, this has been around for a while, and it's made the list of top 10 longest named storms, and it continues to wander around the open ocean as a tropical storm. Now, further south, we do have this area of what we're calling right now just disturbed weather, currently well east of the islands. Now, environmental conditions are favorable for the development of a tropical depression in the area over the next couple of days. Now, if this system does organize, then it should pick up a trough and move safely away from the islands. Right now, over the East Caribbean, there is some cloud cover. Other than that, really nothing to worry about. Popping on over to China is our next stop, and we will be looking at the ongoing tropical storms development happening there. Now, in the South China Sea, We have Gami. It's organizing right now. Right now, it's moving to the southeast at 6 miles an hour. The current forecast actually has it landing in Vietnam in a few days. The other storm we're watching is Maliski. Now, it has sustained winds at 46 miles an hour. This is a tropical storm, and the current storm track has it moving up, and it should skirt just off the east coast of Japan. Now, going inland to China, where we have some video for you where mountain snow has brought a visual spectacle, a sea of clouds tinted crimson by the morning sun. Just look at that, the starburst filter on that camera, the autumn and new snow scenes in northeast China. Now, this particular sight is rarely seen in this part of the world. The red clouds, the yellow skies, volcanic rock, and mirror-like lake, all made for a noteworthy visual. And that is your whirl around the world in weather. We'll have a look at the national forecast as Ebru Today continues.
Thanks very much, Matt. And in Peru, about 20 people were killed after a bus went over a cliff, and another 20 were also left injured. Now, that crash happened in Huamaca, about 500 miles north of the capital, and also left the driver dead. Now, initial reports blame the driver for the accident, although the road is known to be narrow and unsurfaced. Emergency crews and rescue squads worked to recover bodies, but the efforts continued for several hours due to the remote location of the accident and the difficult terrain at the scene of the crash. And tens and thousands of visitors swarmed into the Forbidden City.
Yes, right. It's okay. In Canada, we're having a little bit of confusion here this morning. In Canada, firefighters spent close to a full day battling a large blaze that was sparked at a fuel plant. Thick black smoke and flames rose from a warehouse in Winnipeg after a huge fire broke out in the afternoon. Throughout the evening, explosions could be seen as the contents of the warehouse caught on fire. Look at those pictures. The warehouse holds highly explosive fuel for racing cars and had about 17,000 gallons of methanol and biofuel on site. People who live in the area were told that the danger from the fumes was minimal, however, because the fuel is so-called clean burning. However, many homes were evacuated because of the continued danger of explosions. There were no injuries, and it is still not known what started that fire.
And tens and thousands of visitors swarmed into the Forbidden City on Tuesday for holiday sightseeing in Beijing. Now, Chinese National Day celebrates the founding of the People's Republic of China, and it's the start of a 7-day holiday called Golden Week. Now, the government holds concerts and firework displays all over the country, and the largest celebration taking place in Tiananmen Square. Yesterday, 90,000 visitors toured the Imperial Palace. That is 30,000 more people than National Day last year.
Well, we think the U.S. jobless rate of over 8% is a big deal, but for the European Union, 8% is a dream. They would love to have that. The Eurozone is battling an all-time high unemployment rate as budget cuts continue to slash jobs in what has become a vicious cycle.
Unemployment across the Eurozone was at a record high of 11.4% in August. There are fears that budget cuts have come at the cost of jobs.
It's clearly unacceptable that 25 million Europeans are now out of work.
European leaders have not been able to halt the rising tide of joblessness. In August, 34,000 more people lost their jobs in the Eurozone. Greece and Spain have the highest unemployment rates, around 25% for both.
In Spain, they need to take measures to improve education. They need to take measures to stop the high levels of dropouts from school, because kids that drop out of school are much less likely to get a job. They need to tackle the inequalities in terms of employment between older established workers and younger workers. And these are the kind of reforms that they are working on in Spain.
Meanwhile, Greece's youth rank highest in the Eurozone's under 25 unemployment. Stefanos, a nursing student, says his education has done little for him in the job market.
You can look forward. I think this is useless, and it's just a name that you can get a job with the less money.
Both Greece and Spain are in dire straits as they push themselves to fulfill bailout promises.
We We love our newspapers here, and so we're going to take a look at what is making news across America. Mia is over at Live Touch with what's going on today. Hi, Mia.
Well, thankfully, we still have newspapers, Francesca, so that's the good news. So we're going to start things off with USA Today, and take a look at this. That's a crash, but it's a crash test. Now, it looks pretty horrific, but believe it or not, it's an intentional crash for a new Discovery show, but it's giving scientists a look into what happens when a plane goes down, and it could actually improve aviation safety, just as crash tests in cars have led to safer roadways. So that actually is a good picture. All right, we're going to move over things to the Chicago Tribune, into the middle of the country here, and come on, here we go. This is a nonfiction push. We've got a novel idea, we'll call it there. Now, these two little girls, they're second graders in Illinois, and they're reading on their iPads, but they're not getting ready to read stories. Instead, this is called Information Time. It's a new approach to reading where nonfiction is edging out fiction. Illinois and 44 other states across the country are adopting a new learning standard this year that emphasizes nonfiction reading skills. So there you have that. Okay, Philadelphia. We go to Philadelphia. No, that was the Philadelphia. There we go, folks. We want to take you there. That's a great city if you've never been there. All right, also in the education circles, this is a young lady here, and she came here. Her name is Gertrude, and she has overcome huge odds to come to the United States. She's from Zimbabwe, and she lost her entire family to AIDS. Now, she wants to become an AIDS researcher, and she's doing just that thanks to a U.S. scholarship. Now, her story is a small piece of a much broader story, a tidal wave in the past 10 years of international students attending colleges and universities in Philadelphia. This city saw the largest influx of international students in the United States, which might be why Philadelphia is called the city of brotherly love. There you go. And incidentally, if you like trivia, brotherly love is the literal meaning of the city's name in Greek. Philos means loving, Adelphos means brother. There you go. That's how they got the name Philadelphia. Okay, Tampa Bay Times. Tampa Bay Times is being a little difficult this morning. Come on. We'll see if we can get through the Tampa Bay Times, can we? I don't think we're going to have to be able to get that, but here's what we're going to tell you about this. The headline there was no bacon, hogwash. There we go, hogwash, get it? No bacon? Well, you've probably heard about the prediction of bacon shortages. Well, relax, everybody. There is a hog shortage, but the worst it will do is drive up prices. Now, the European pork producers sounded the alarm last week, forecasting a baconless world. And ever since, the social media has been running with a story like, well, I guess we'll use this little pun, pigs at the trough. But we're here at Ebru today to let you know that there will be no bacon shortage, and there will be plenty of bacon at the stores. I hope that makes you happy, Francesca.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of bacon. You know, I mean, I know some people in the South, especially where I used to live, they absolutely cannot live without it.
Well, that's been the headlines, and the social media folks have been running with it, so no bacon shortage.
That's right. That means there will be bacon. Still ahead on Ebru Today. All the fun stuff, or some more of it, I guess. Did you know that chiropractors do more than just help people with back pain? Well, they do. You'll be surprised by just how much they can help you with health and wellness overall. I'm going to talk to an expert straight ahead, live in our studio. And we're also going to look at the latest trends in jewelry for all you ladies out there as we take a look inside a show for independent jewelry designers in London. It's all beautiful stuff. We have all that just ahead. Stay with us for more Ebru Today. Welcome back to Ebru Today this Tuesday. If you are just joining us now, it is now time for another look at our top stories. Erin A. joins us for a recap of the headlines. Hi, Erin.
Sure do, Francesca. How you doing?
Good.
Now, in Hong Kong, authorities have announced an investigation on Tuesday into the collision of two passenger boats that killed almost 40 people. Hong Kong police say they've arrested 6 crew members from the 2 boats involved in the collision on Monday night. The crash happened on a night when Hong Kong's busy waters were even more crowded than usual as the city celebrated China's National Day. In Georgia, both sides are claiming victory in a presidential election that is critical to determining the future of the former Soviet republic. An opposition coalition led by a billionaire claimed victory in a parliamentary election in Georgia on Monday, but President Mikhail Saakashvili's ruling party could yet cling to power. A tense standoff loomed over the results of the poll. Syrian's foreign minister lashes out at the United Nations. The verbal attack came on Monday during the UN's annual gathering of world leaders. Walid al-Mu'alem says the Security Council is supporting terrorism by backing the opposition of Bashar al-Assad's regime. And those are just some of the top stories on this Tuesday, October 2nd, 2012.
All right, Erin, thanks so much. Now let's take a look at the 60-second look at our 5 big stories making headlines all around the world.
Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos says he has prostate cancer. Santos says the tumor was caught early and will be removed this week. Investigations are underway in the killings of dozens of miners near a South African platinum mine. In August, police opened fire on striking miners, killing 34 and wounding 78. In Haiti, the government banned the use of drainage-clogging plastic bags for merchandising. Merchants are ignoring the ban, citing many make a living selling plastic bags and food containers for food. Chinese commuters endured long traffic jams as a series of car fires halted traffic. While inconvenient for many, no one was hurt. On his 143rd birthday, India remembers Mahatma Gandhi for his works. Noted author Giraj Kishore said that the present politicians are not aware about Gandhi or his ideology. Gandhi's life was remembered as one dedicated to his nation and people.
You ever said, ouch, my aching back? Well, yeah, many of us do have one, or pains in our necks, and we seek relief in various ways. Could be a massage, maybe an anti-inflammatory, or it could be in the form of a chiropractor. But many people are sort of split on the issue as to whether or not they're effective or whether or not they're the right thing for you. So to describe his profession and tell us what happens when we go in for chiropractic treatment is Dr. Kent Mehmet Osman. He joins us now with more. Hi, Dr. Kent, and welcome to our program, Ebru Today.
It's good to be back. I've been on Ebru back in '07, twice on the then morning show, and they did a 60-minute segment on me as well. It's a wonderful show you have here. Welcome to America, Canada, Africa, and now Europe. Oh my goodness, you guys are getting really big.
All around the world. So Dr. Kent, for people who don't know, tell us what you do. You're a chiropractor.
I'm a chiropractor, and I've been doing it for 18 years. Basically, chiropractic is about 4 statements, and 2 of them are about the same. One is that the body should help itself, run itself, heal itself. Yes, we all know that. Number 2, the medical model for 150 years has said there's 11 systems in the body, like digestive, respiratory, circulatory, muscular, nervous, but it says for 150 years in Gray's Anatomy that the nervous system, or the electrical system, is the one that masters all the other systems.
Sort of in charge.
In charge. So in 1895, 118 years ago this month, chiropractic said, well, if the nerves are the ones that are masters of all the others, let's look there first.
Okay.
Kind of like if you have a washing machine or a computer problem, you call technical support. What's the first thing they ask you? Have you got it plugged in?
Right.
You think,
sure.
oh, well, why do they ask that?
Sure.
Because some people don't. So for the electrical system, we're looking to make sure everything's plugged in. Does it flow or doesn't it flow? If it's not flowing as well to some section, that section's not going to work as well.
Okay, so is that how it then differs from the quote-unquote regular medical model, chiropractic medicine, as opposed to what we normally considered, you know, what you would just do if you were going to your regular internist?
Well, if you want to consider a model, dental model is probably closer to chiropractic.
Okay.
You don't say, I'll only go to the dentist when my teeth hurt.
No.
You go to get checkups to catch things that
Preventative.
you don't know you've got.
Sure.
Because if you feel a cavity, it's a little too late. If you feel a subluxation or a nerve not getting through, it gets to be a little too late.
Okay, so that's sort of the whole idea of actually going in for wellness treatment, not just going in when you have a pain in your neck or a pain in your back. And talk to me about the different things that people can do and what they should expect if they go in and they're seeking wellness.
Well, very good question, and here's the point. This is an art as well as a science. So no two chiropractors are going to be exactly the same. Just like if I gave two people a brush and a canvas, the picture's going to be different.
I like
so there's
watercolors, you like
200 styles of chiropractic as well.
Okay.
Completely different styles. Some that are hard, some that are as soft as a touch, some that use an electrical gun, all sorts of different styles.
How do you determine which one you might be best suited for? What kind of personality you have, or what kind of body type you have, or what your affliction is? How would you know?
That is an excellent question. I don't have a great answer for that one.
I ask the tough questions here on Every Today.
Just like getting your car fixed, what do? You ask your friends, who does your car? How well does he do it? So probably word of mouth and referrals might be easier, and I would suggest for people to interview and try a couple of chiropractors.
Gotcha. You brought a little friend along. Do we get a chance to check him out?
Well, I call him Calcium, from a doctor friend of mine who named hers that.
Okay.
So, but the point of
I get it now. Sorry, don't. Took me a minute.
But the point of this is that the nervous system comes from above downwards and from the inside out. Okay. And when we adjust for the subluxations or the interferences to the nervous system, we're trying to get the body to heal above, down, and inside out. Okay. For example, somebody might have a low back pain down here.
I got one of those.
Okay. Might have a low back pain, but if you went to the hospital, they're going to look here, x-ray here, MRI here, shots here, PT here. Chiropractic says, well, okay, there may be a problem here, but maybe there's something blocked further up. Oh. Many a times I find something in the neck not getting through, so it's keeping this weak. Similar to a light bulb being off. If you said, hey, fix the light bulb, what's the first thing you'd say? Check the switch.
Check the switch. Like you said, is it plugged in? Yeah, the knee bone is connected to the thigh bone. The hip bone could be connected to the neck bone. Right. So is there anybody for whom this is more suited? You know, can kids do it, adults, people that have had injuries? Is it?
Well, let's go back to medical model.
Okay.
Would you say, I'll take my child to the dentist as soon as he turns 21?
No. I hope not. That would be bad.
Chiropractic pediatrics is a big field. And people who say, well, does that baby have low back pain? I say to them, did you forget this? Yeah. Okay, or learning how to walk, step, 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 boom.
Gotcha.
And if the sacrum gets off, guess what? A scoliosis could start.
Right.
So for children, it's preventative. For adults, it's more fix it.
All right, that's good to know. We can fix it and we can prevent it. Thank you, Dr. Kent, for joining us on Every Today. I love the display here. I like the show and tell.
And next time, we're going to show and demonstrate how we do these things.
Okay, yes. I don't know if I'm going to be the guinea pig that time, but you know, we'll find another one.
Very good.
Thanks, Dr. Kent.
You're welcome.
All righty, well, Matt Locker may or may not need a chiropractor. I'm not quite so sure, but he's here with a look at the national weather and see if that needs a little tweaking or not. I don't know. What's the word, Matt?
Well, looking at the maps, we have a big L. It's not L3, L4, L5. It's low pressure, and that is a very rich low pressure system, and it's bringing the weather over the southeast. Very wet for today, and that's all across the southeast. This system is slowly walking in a northeasterly direction right along a frontal trough here, and then it'll cross into the northeast. The leading edges of that are coming into the New York City metroplex right now. In addition to the rain for the eastern seaboard, this system will be keeping temperatures moderated and a little bit cooler. Speaking of cooler, a cold front swings in from Canada. That is bringing across the first snow for the season in Montana, especially the higher elevations. And tomorrow, as the front advances, snow for North Dakota, South Dakota. Elsewhere, high pressure makes for clear skies across the nation. Well, today is National College Radio Day. Not just national, but it's a global event where college radio stations celebrate the unique medium of student radio. Now, this is the second annual College Radio Day and has already garnered, get this, 550 radio stations in 23 countries, all joining resources for this event. Now, this was started by Rob Quick at WPSC-FM at William Patterson University, my alma mater. Also have Derek in the control room from Willie P. And that's in Wayne, New Jersey. Today, Wayne, New Jersey, well, you'll be having College Radio Day and showers 75. Also want to give it a shout to another participating station, WGCC-FM in Batavia, where I spent the reunion weekend. Hey guys, Batavia, New York, rain and 70. Let's look at the national weather, and now Every Today continues.
Matt, I want to see some reunion pictures.
They're online.
All right. Well, against a backdrop of dwindling manufacturing, professional jewelry competitions in Britain are offering invaluable support and exposure to the best and brightest new jewelry talents at the 30th Goldsmith Jewelry Fair. And Aaron Aid has more on this. Are you bedecked and bedazzled?
No, I wish.
Not yet.
Not yet, not yet. I haven't been to the fair. Francesca, the Goldsmith Jewelry Fair is a show for independent jewelry designers in the UK, and it's celebrating its 30th year, fittingly, with pearls. They're the main attraction.
A 60th anniversary is associated with diamonds, 50 years with gold, 25 with silver. But did you know that pearls are the corresponding celebratory gem for a 30-year anniversary? The Goldsmiths Jewelry Fair in London is on its 30th year of annually showcasing the best of independent UK-based jewelry designers. More than 180 designers display their latest creations during the two-week fair. Glasgow-based jeweler Yvonne Smith is showing off her latest collection of pearls.
I think the cultured pearls, which are grown in Japan, are not quite as pop art, if you like. But young women are wearing these now, and we're doing lovely things with chain and diamonds and pearls, which is very young indeed and very Chanel looking.
But it's not just pearls at the Goldsmiths Fair. Polish-born jeweler Tomasz Donasik is causing quite a stir with his unusual transforming dragonfly ring. His one-of-a-kind creation is actually 2 rings for the price of 1.
And you can put it on and wear it on the hand, which across the fingers. Or what you can do is in the daytime, you can take out the center ring and wear it as a separate ring. So that basically it becomes much more of a wearable daytime ring.
Aside from the incredible range of exciting jewelry and silver, one of the particularly special aspects of the fair is being able to meet the designers themselves. From its start 30 years ago, Goldsmiths Fair has not only been a platform for the most acclaimed independent design makers on the scene, but has also reached out to find exciting and emerging young talent. And this year's Pearl anniversary is no different.
Now, 10 graduate designers have been given free stands to exhibit their work to the discerning audience that attends the fair.
Well, you know, those were gorgeous. I love that dragonfly
So
ring
impressive,
or, you know,
amazing,
whatever
amazing.
it was. It's one of those things that I think that when you're in a down economy, maybe you don't buy quite as much as you should or you want to, but at the
Right.
same time, it's good to see that people are still designing some cool new stuff.
Absolutely, and you don't have to get the diamonds, you can get the diamonds in training.
The fake or you can get, yeah. I stick with these. These are my silver hoops, and
they're beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty basic, but it works for me. Thanks, Erin.
You're very welcome.
All right, just ahead on Ebru today, in the U.S., National Food Day is coming up, but this year there is a new twist on the gastronomic celebration. We will fill you in with a live report from Washington in our D.C. connection. And do you have a small business, or do you want to start one? Mia will talk live in our studio to an expert to tell us how government regulations and policies just might affect your bottom line. Stay with us. Ebru Today will be right back.
Welcome back to Ebru Today. Glad to have you with us. Well, there's a national initiative that is going to challenge your wallet as well as your appetite. National Food Day is coming to a city near you. Our Washington-based correspondent Robin Hamilton has more in today's D.C. connection. And National Food Day, I thought that was Thanksgiving, Robin.
Well, Mia, no, not at all. And don't even think that this is going to be a chance for you to indulge in your sweet tooth or open that bag of chips. Not so fast. Instead, the D.C.-based nonprofit group Center for Science in the Public Interest has launched this initiative to help everyone learn about healthy, sustainable, and affordable food for everyone. Think about it as a collective healthy picnic all over the country at the same time. Now, their Food Day aims at galvanizing the entire nation and is trying to create events all over the country. Now, the U.S. Capitol Visitor Center right here in the district will be the hub of the event, which is coordinating the other Food Day activities and celebrations in various cities. Some of the questions that will be addressed right here in D.C. What kind of food will we be eating in 2050? Or how will food be prepared and produced in the future? Programs around other parts of the country include film screenings and a chance to sample creations from chefs who make organic or vegan treats. Now, this event happens at the end of this month, and good news, it is held 2 weeks before Halloween. So if you eat healthy all month, you won't feel that bad about diving into that bag of candy later. Live in D.C. with your D.C. Connection, I'm Robin Hamilton. Back to you.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff there, Robin. Thank you so much. And Robin reports that the nationwide event happens on October 20th, and roughly 2,300 Food Day events will be held across the country. Well, every entrepreneur and small business owner would love to know one key thing, the secret to growing their business. In fact, the topic of how to take your business to the next level is our topic today. And joining us is Melissa Gasnick-Clotter. She is the president of Own It Ventures, and she's here to discuss the recent trends in small business growth and what programs are out there to help small business owners. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start off by talking about how small businesses can help the economy.
Well, its #1 job growth is coming from small businesses. If you look at companies that have less than 20 employees, they're tracking about 5% in job growth creation. All the way up to 500 employees are tracking at roughly anywhere from 2 to 3%, all the way up to 6%.
And what actually constitutes a small business? How many employees?
You know what? That's a great question because there's not really a set standard. I know the SBA considers 500 employees less, and then it's broken down from there. So they have up to 20 employees, and they have from 20 to 50 employees, and then 50 up to 500 employees. And anything over 500 employees is considered a large corporation.
Okay, well, it's kind of interesting. From 3 to 500 is a small business.
Right.
Well, I've heard that every small business needs 4 things. It needs a vision, a plan, team, and confidence.
Right, right.
And also a little funding. So
yes.
let's talk about that. Sometimes, I guess we actually need 5 things. So you need a little funding as well. So let's talk about some of the ways small business owners can go after some of that funding that's out there.
Well, that's the #1 challenge right now for small businesses, and it's a #1 challenge that also is the regulations and policies, either from the federal or state level, directly affects the funding opportunities available for small businesses. There are ways, the #1 way right now for small businesses to acquire financial resources for growth is, quite frankly, through private investors, angel investors, VCs.
And that's one of the things that a lot of states are doing very well, I want to add. A lot of states are doing it very well, and some are not doing it so well. But one of the states that's doing it well is Oklahoma.
Yes, Oklahoma is, they're tracking at #1, #2 in some of the polls as far as helping small businesses. But they have programs that offer, between the state and outside equity funders and business incubators, they are collaborating together to help small businesses, either in seeding startups or funding growth.
Let's talk about Own It Ventures. That's your company and how you got started, but you also specifically help the females out there that are the women business owners who may have a little more trouble. And it's amazing to think that they're still having a little bit more trouble these days.
You know, we've made a lot of strides, which is great, but there are a lot of things that we still are lagging behind our male counterparts. And some of these issues going on that affect women entrepreneurs, some are self-imposed, and some are still barriers that we are trying to break through externally.
And so how exactly does your company help?
Own It Ventures helps connect women entrepreneurs to angel investors, to media for exposure, creating buzz and awareness about your goods and services. And also many women have a product-based business, and we help connect them to retail buyers for distribution in stores.
All right, let's talk about examples of how the state government regulations can, or the laws rather, can help or hurt small businesses.
Well, anytime you have regulations that are adding more and more steps to getting business done, that is creating a larger barrier and more of a burden for small business owners than for your larger corporations, just because we don't have as many employees at hand, we don't have the resources at hand and able to accommodate these extra regulations. So if you look at the states that are doing well in small business growth, They are, generally speaking, states that are doing away with or streamlining the regulations, requirements that small businesses have to go through and able to grow.
So again, go Google a little bit about Oklahoma out there. Yeah, why not? They're doing it right. Why not? Go look at that. Anything else that you can add about having the dream of having a small business and never giving up?
Oh, you know, it's challenging, but I will say it's very rewarding. And it stretches you beyond what you can even imagine as far as yourself professionally, but also personally. And I have to say, being a mother, I've made my son proud, and that's something that I take dear to heart.
Well, that's just terrific. Great advice for anybody out there who wants to have a small business. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Mia, for having me.
Okay. Well, we're going to switch things up now and turn things to the weather. And Matt is at the maps with a look at the international overlook. How you doing there, Matt? Where are you taking us?
I'm taking us over the Atlantic to begin with for this visit to Nadine, which has been just lingering on there, and it's on the list of top 10 longest lasting named storms, and it continues to wander about the open ocean as a tropical storm. Now, further south is this area here we are keeping our eye on. It's an area of disturbed weather, currently well east of the islands. Now, environmental conditions are favorable, meaning there's about a 60% chance of this developing into a tropical system over the next couple of days. Now, if it does, though, there is a trough lying across here, and that should pull the storm system up and keep it safely away from the Antilles. Right now in the Caribbean, there are some cloud cover, but other than that, really not too bad on that part of the world. In the China area, we go off the sea, and what we will see off the sea is a couple of systems that we are keeping our eye on. Here in the South China Sea is Gamai, a system organizing over the South China Sea right now. It is moving to the southeast at 6 miles an hour. Current forecast has it landing in Vietnam in a couple of days. We'll keep our eye on that. The other storm we're watching, Maliski, with sustained winds at 46 miles an hour. This right now, it is a tropical storm. It is moving to the west-northwest at 12 miles an hour. And it looks right now that it's going to approach Japan and then turn and skirt right along the eastern side of that country. Inland to China, where we have cloud-covered mountain snow and a visual spectacle. A sea of clouds tinted crimson by the morning sun and his autumn scenes. Just look at that, looking down upon the clouds without even being on board an aircraft. Red clouds, shining volcano rock, and mirror-like lakes, all made for quite a noteworthy visual. And such a visual it is. That is your whirl around the world in weather. We'll update the national forecast in a little bit. Now back to the desk.
Those were just some beautiful pictures there.
Nice.
Oh,
Postcards.
beautiful. Thank you, Matt. And just ahead on Eberud today, dozens are killed and injured in a collision between a ferry and a boat in Beijing. We'll have the latest on that accident. And in Georgia, both sides claim victory in elections. We'll have the latest numbers from there. Don't go away. Eberud today. We'll be right back. In the news today, a deadly boat crash in Hong Kong left 37 people dead and dozens injured.
Definitely a sad story. Hong Kong authorities announced an investigation on Tuesday into the collision of two passenger boats that killed almost 40 people in all. Eberud today's Erin Aid has more on that. Erin.
Yes, Mia, Francesca, a very sad story indeed. The boat packed with people on a long holiday weekend collided with a ferry and sank on Monday night, killing at least 37 people and injuring dozens of others.
It is Hong Kong's deadliest ferry accident in recent memory, on a night meant for celebration that took a drastic turn. The crash happened as Hong Kong's busy waters were even more crowded than usual as the city celebrated China's National Day. The collision occurred off Yama's coast around 8:20 p.m. when a Hong Kong to Kowloon ferry collided with a smaller boat carrying utility company workers and their families to famed Victoria Harbor to watch a fireworks display. More than 100 people plunged into the water. 37 bodies had been recovered as of Tuesday morning. The search was made difficult by low visibility and obstacles on the boat. More than 100 people were rescued and sent to hospitals, and 9 had serious or critical injuries. Survivors told local television stations that the power company boat started sinking rapidly after the collision. The ferry did not sink and apparently did not stop to help the doomed smaller vessel.
Now, details about the victims were not given, though local television outlet RTHK reported some of the dead were indeed children.
That's definitely not good news. Do they know what happened? Do they know what caused it? Why these two boats collided?
Well, actually, the details are still developing today, but as of now, authorities have arrested 6 crew members and from the 2 boats involved in the accident. And as we learn more, we will, of course, bring it to you here on Ever Today.
All right, Erin, thanks so much for that
Erin,
story.
thanks so much. We'll be watching. We're going to move things over to Georgia now, where it's still unclear who won the election there. Now, both sides are claiming victory in an election that is critical to determining the future of the former Soviet republic. Ever Today's Sherry Richardson has more.
Saakashvili's government, which has dominated parliament, is up against an opposition coalition led by Bidzina Ivanishvili, a billionaire businessman who has posed the most serious challenge to Saakashvili since he came to power almost 9 years ago.
This is a very important election for Georgia, for the region, I think. Lots of things are being decided right now in our country for the region, for the development, for the future of this, not only this nation, but what happens to the European dream in this part of the world.
Georgia has changed the constitution to give the prime minister many of the powers now held by the president. Parliament will name a new prime minister next year after Saakashvili's second and last presidential term ends. The election pits the president's ruling United National Movement against Georgian Dream, the coalition founded by Ivanishvili, who is pro-Russian. The president says a victory for Georgian Dream and Ivanishvili as prime minister would shift Georgia away from the West and put it back under Moscow's influence, a charge Ivanishvili denies. Outside a polling station where he declined the opportunity to vote, despite a recent constitutional change which allowed him to do so, Ivanishvili said, "For the first time in Georgian history, the Georgian people are managing to conduct really democratic elections, or elections which are very close to being democratic, because the government has made many violations already." Ivanishvili's backers accuse the president of being a dictator. They blame him for the brief but disastrous 2008 war with Russia over the breakaway region of South Ossetia. Saakashvili's campaign was hurt last week when videos surfaced of prison guards beating and raping inmates.
Well, President Obama and former Governor Mitt Romney, they are getting ready for a big night that some say could decide it all. Their first debate on October 3rd. That's tomorrow night, Wednesday. It's the first time America and the whole world will get to see the two men square off. Every's Kyle Schmoyer explores how the two are preparing for that big night.
Over the course of October, the 3 presidential debates are like 3 rounds of a heavyweight fight, with the ultimate prize coming Election Day in November. It's an opportunity for voters to see the two candidates one-on-one.
It's one of the few times voters see what the candidates have to say without filtering. That is, they can watch the actual debate and not have any of it filtered by media. They can listen for themselves.
President Obama and Mitt Romney know the stakes are high, especially for this first debate. They've been preparing for weeks, having closed-door practice sessions. They want to be ready for any and all questions and score some points of their own.
Do I think that Barack Obama has won this? I think that right now the odds slightly favor him. I wouldn't bet my house on an Obama victory, but I do think he has enough of a lead and enough credible polls to suggest that the hill is a lot steeper for Mitt Romney to climb.
While many Americans already know Obama from the past 4 years, many political experts say Romney needs to use the debates to help himself.
If he's able to sort of put the president down or show the president that, you know, I know about business, you don't, therefore we have a bad economy, and if it's memorable, if it's sticky, that might move the needle a bit because it'll become part of the media narrative.
And both men will try to reach independents and undecided voters by winning each debate.
It's important for Obama to be solid. It's important for Romney to do really, really well, partly because Romney has to change the narrative.
The first face-off is 9 o'clock, Wednesday, October 3rd. For Ebru News, I'm Kyle Schmoyer.
And millions will be watching, and so will we. Thank you, Kyle. And in Syria, the foreign minister lashes out at the United Nations. The verbal attack came on Monday during the UN's annual gathering of world leaders. Walid al-Mohammed says the Security Council is supporting terrorism by backing the opposition to Bashar al-Assad's regime. Our Washington-based correspondent Robin Hamilton has more. Robin?
Mia, in the attack, al-Mualim suggested that other countries like the United States were largely to blame for the crisis in his country. He also added that there's already a democratic process in Syria and that outside forces like the United States and other European countries are really doing more harm than good in their domestic affairs.
Syria's foreign minister, Walid al-Muallim, made a scathing attack against the United Nations Security Council during the UN's annual meeting of world leaders. The country embroiled in months of bloody violence as citizens revolt against President Bashar al-Assad's regime continues to face pressure from the international community for a leadership change. Al-Muallim demanded it's time that other countries step out of their domestic affairs.
The Syrian people and only the Syrian people are authorized to choose their own future and the form of their state, which accommodates all groups and throughout the entire spectrum of the Syrian people, including those who are deceived and misled.
The United States has been one of the more vocal supporters of the opposition and has actively tried to supply citizens with humanitarian aid. The foreign minister, however, suggested that such support was doing nothing more than contributing to terrorism in his country.
I call all countries represented in General Assembly to assert pressure to end the violence in my country through putting an end to the arming, financing, harboring, and training of armed terrorist groups.
Now, the Security Council is still extremely divided on a resolution, particularly as Russia and China continue to support al-Assad's regime. Mia?
Robin, what's been the response to this speech?
Well, the U.S.-based spokesman for Syria's opposition group said that this particular speech was full of lies and propaganda, and he added that al-Muallim's call for a dialogue was just false, particularly as the government continues its Air Force strike against civilians in cities all across Syria. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Robin. Robin Hamilton in Washington, D.C.
Well, the North Korean vice foreign minister also blasted the UN about the Syrian conflict. He says the, quote, unjustifiable interference, pressure, and use of force that violates the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Syria and the right to self-determination and existence of Palestine should be rejected. Pat Killian also lashed out at the United States, saying that repeated U.S. military exercises near the Korean peninsula is, quote, proof of aggression. Pak Kil-yeon, North Korea's vice foreign minister, made the statement at the UN General Assembly in New York, saying that there's a vicious cycle of confrontation and aggravation of tension in the Korean peninsula, and went on to call the area the world's most dangerous hotspot. Pak also accused the United States of seeking to use force to occupy the entire Korean peninsula and use it as a stepping stone to dominate Asia. He said America had finalized scenarios for a new Korean war and is, quote, waiting for a chance to implement them. Pak cited repeated U.S. military exercises near the peninsula as proof of aggression. The minister says North Korea's patience on the issue is limited. Pak also told the assembly that North Korea would continue to further strengthen and develop the relations of friendship and cooperation with all countries that respect its sovereignty pursuant to its foreign policy ideas of independence, peace, and friendship, and actively join the efforts of the UN member states to secure world peace and stability and achieve sustainable development.
And we're going to move down under now to Australia, where a new report has found that the Great Barrier Reef has lost more than half of its corals in the past 27 years. Now, research by scientists from the Australian Institute of Marine Sciences, that's called AIMS, and the University of Wollongong say they've found the causes, so it may be possible to stop further damage. From storms to sea stars, the Great Barrier Reef is now facing rapid coral loss. The world's largest reef is being threatened by climate change and a destructive sea star, according to scientists. And if the trend continues, half the coral cover could be depleted by 2022.
With the same conditions over the next 10 years, we'd see a further reduction by half of the coral cover in the reef.
Storm damage is said to have caused 48% of the loss. A sea star called Crown of Thorns caused 42%, and coral bleaching accounted for 10%. Scientists say warmer water temperatures causes coral bleaching. When water is too warm, corals expel an algae, causing the coral to turn completely white. While scientists continue to study climatic changes, they say focusing on the crown of thorns sea star, which feed on coral, may be the best way to prevent further damage.
Fertilizer is the food of crown of thorns when it's in its baby stage. We've got to cut that food from that potential explosion of crown of thorns every 15 years.
Globally, reefs are being attacked by a number of threats, particularly rising sea temperatures and more powerful storms. But the threat to the Great Barrier Reef is even more pronounced. And another problem for the Great Barrier Reef, port expansion could triple in the next 10 years because of the coal industry. That would mean as many as 10,000 coal ships per year could make their way through the Great Barrier Reef by 2020. And I used to live in that area. I actually used to teach scuba diving there, so just really sad to see that.
It is, and as a scuba diver, I know how beautiful it is, so you want it to be preserved.
Absolutely.
As much as possible.
Well, coming up next on Ever Today, well, Google just got cooler. Now, first there was Google Earth, then there was Google Street View, now there's Google Sea.
Yeah, they're going to go scuba diving. We'll take you there on a virtual dive when we come back.
I'm here.
It is weather time and time to check out where it's looking good across this country.
That's right. Matt Locker is over here with the weather. Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, how are you? We've got a lot of moisture down in the southeast. It's working its way up slowly towards the northeast. And in the meantime, the whole eastern seaboard will be getting a little bit of flavor of this weather. What it is we got a low pressure center just north of Atlanta. And this is pulling up the moisture, and it's following a trough, and it's working its way up. So the leading edge of the clouds and the heavier rain just entering the New York City metroplex, coming in through Washington, D.C. right now. And that will pretty much stay on the extreme side of the eastern seaboard into tomorrow. As we travel out west a little bit, we can see cooler temperatures moving on in. There is a cold front coming in from Canada, and that's going to bring the season's first snow into Montana, then into North Dakota, South Dakota as the frontal system swings on down. You can even see those moderating temperatures. Chicago right now, some rain and 66. Desert Southwest still holding warm. Las Vegas, 97. Los Angeles, 95. And it's all sunny skies across the Southwest. That is a look at your national forecast. Ever Today continues.
Matt, you said snow.
Yes.
Google Street View, the interactive panorama feature within Google Maps, has shared eye-level images of Antarctica, gone inside NASA's Kennedy Space Center, even floated right down rivers in the Amazon that strolled the halls of famous museums. Now, the company is going down deep underwater. For a look, we go now to Ever Today's Sherry Richardson, who is live in our New York City bureau. Sherry?
The stunning photos capture fish, plants, turtles, and other marine critters going about their business in faraway oceans. Now anyone can get an in-depth view of the seas without getting wet or worrying about the bends.
The deepest ocean floors are no longer a barrier to mapping our world. Now, online visitors to Google Maps can go on virtual dives and connect with scuba divers researching coral reefs around the world. The photos are part of a partnership with the Catlin Seaview Survey, a project focused on documenting the world's reefs using high-resolution 360-degree images. Catlin is working to create a thorough archive of the world's reefs that scientists can use to study the effects of climate change. By documenting reefs with photographs, it will be possible to determine the impact increased water temperatures and acidity will have on the areas over time.
The world's oceans are facing a crisis, and at the moment we know that many of the ecosystems upon which fisheries and people depend are going downhill. The question is, what do we do about it? And so this project is game-changing.
The scientists behind the Catlin project hope to raise awareness of the importance of the ocean as a source of food, oxygen, and climate regulation for the planet. The survey will map just a small percentage of the ocean's seabed, but the scientists are trying to increase awareness of the threat to marine ecosystems. Google's engineering director says making accessible information about undersea environments is part of the tech giant's mission.
It is the next frontier. It is 70% of our planet. It is inaccessible to all people, to most people, put it this way. So we want to make it accessible. Google is about taking information, making it accessible to all.
The Catlin Seaview survey of the 2,300-kilometer Great Barrier Reef began on September 16th and will continue until the end of December.
Next year, the survey will continue in other locations, including Hawaii, the Philippines, and Bermuda. Reporting live from New York City, I'm Sherry Richardson for Everett Today.
Thanks so much, Sherry. Well, you've heard of massive auctions? Well, in Paris, Sotheby's is going mammoth. That's right, you heard it right. A complete mammoth skeleton is just one of the items expected to go under the hammer.
This is not your regular bag of bones. It is a rare, intact skeleton of a Siberian mammoth. It will fetch between $24,000 to $3,200 at a natural history auction at Sotheby's in Paris. The mammoth skeleton is the highlight of about 100 prehistoric specimens. A large woolly rhinoceros skeleton is also on offer from a Russian collector who owns the mammoth. The rhino is very well preserved and complete. High estimates have it selling for $129,000. Sotheby's is auctioning fossils, mineralized panels, butterflies, insects, and creatures' skulls on behalf of private collectors. About 30 of these prehistoric treasures come from a private Japanese collector west of Tokyo. The auction house expects numerous private collectors to bid, since prehistoric plant and animal remains are no longer only the domain of museums. Colorful panels of mineralized wood from more than 200 million years ago will go under the hammer. A 70-million-year-old fossilized shell of an intact ammonite is expected to dazzle potential buyers.
All right, so we could go from Paris to London because you know what's happening in London? There's a wonderful light show. That's right, London's Buckingham Palace turned pink on Monday to launch a breast cancer awareness drive.
The Queen's home is one of the 9 famous landmarks that'll be turning the capital's skyline pink in support of breast cancer. Monday marked the start of the charity's Breast Cancer Action Month, which aims to raise awareness of the disease throughout October. Now, some of the other landmarks being lit up are Trafalgar Square, Nelson's Column, the Tower of London, Somerset House, and Tower 42. And it is lovely. They kind of do that over here in New York City, right?
Absolutely, but isn't that beautiful there?
Yeah, it's
Ah,
pretty.
just beautiful.
Matches your jacket.
That's right.
You're all set for October.
All right, that's the news for today. I'm Mia Totsky.
And I'm Francesca Maxime in for Brian Jenkins. We are going to leave you with some pictures.
Dancers from South Korea. There we go. So we hope you enjoy those pictures, and we thank you all for joining us today here at Everett Today. We'll see you again tomorrow.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Thank you.